Wow, what a fake news weekend that was. Holy cow, was there anything real reported over the weekend? Not much, anyway. Let me explain this whole thing with BuzzFeed. It's very easy to understand what happened with BuzzFeed. This article was absurd on its face. That's why I didn't touch it on my show on Friday. I just ignored it. Because I knew it wasn't true. I knew that flat out. Because when they said, oh, Cohen had to get Trump to lie to cover up the collusion, I went, oh, yeah, it's a lie. It's no collusion. They've never proved collusion. They've never shown any collusion. They've never shown a connection between Trump and Putin. And they've never conclusively proved that he had any impact on that election at all. Some people who happen to be Russian might have bought some ads, over half of which were seen after the election, and about half of which promoted Hillary as much as Trump. It was pretty evenly divided, pro and con. So some guys who happen to be Russian spent no more than $1,000 in any given state doing this, and you can tell what they were doing. They weren't trying to influence the election. It was an email spear phishing operation. That's all it was. So, I mean, I knew there's nothing for Trump to lie about, so I knew the story was bogus. I mean, it's just, you just listed it out, yeah. And it was the biggest story of the day, and that's one of the traps I do fall into, is knowing too much about this, so knowing that, whatever fantastical story they're slinging now can't be true, and then I ignore it, and I'm not talking about, what everybody else is talking about. So the consultants warned me about that. But this is how insane that BuzzFeed story was. That any media outlet would run with it knowing this. Do you realize the reporter who wrote the BuzzFeed story that said, oh, Trump obstructed justice, he told Cohen to lie to Congress, we got proof, we got emails, we got the documents. Do you know who he is? Who that guy is? Who wrote the BuzzFeed story? His name is Jason Leopold. And he's got a very documented history of making up stories. Just flat out making stuff up. And that's not my opinion or the opinion of somebody with a conservative blog. The liberal Columbia Journalism Review, one of the two big journals of journalism, Columbia Journalism Review, called Jason Leopold, the BuzzFeed reporter, the author of the, we now know, completely discredited Trump piece, a serial fabulist. Serial fabulist. That means he makes up ridiculous, fantastical stories. Again, Columbia Journalism Review calls him a serial fabulist. Okay, if you're going to run something he writes, which no reputable media outlet should have ever re-reported something a person like that wrote, they should have included in there some sort of disclaimer about, hey, oh, by the way, Jason Leopold has this very long and well-documented history by left-wing journalism publications of lying and making up stories and being a serial fabulist. At a minimum, if you wanted to report what BuzzFeed reported, you should have started with that right near the top. They didn't. The media knew better. They knew this guy had to be making this up. And yet they ran it with no disclaimers. Why? This was on purpose. Why do this last week? Why do this? A story so easy to tear apart because they had to distract. Last week was the biggest, most devastating week in the whole Trump-Russia story for the deep state. I mean, we now have evidence last week of crimes that came out. That is irrefutable, devastating, and at this, the only thing left to do now is to impanel a grand jury and pursue criminal indictments. There's no other way. What we learned last week was that Bruce Orr's testimony came out. Bruce Orr, remember, is married to Nellie Orr. And Nellie Orr is with the CIA, and she was putting together the fake dossier on which the application to spy on Trump was put together via Carter Page. And Bruce Orr's testimony became public last week. This is what they were covering up with the whole release. This is why they needed the BuzzFeed story to change to change the subject. Bruce Orr, his testimony came out last week in The Hill, a mainstream media publication, and admitted, my wife, she put that dossier together. It was pretty much fake. Christopher Steele had an axe to grind. Oh, by the way, Hillary paid for it. So y'all shouldn't believe anything in it. He told this to the top DOJ and FBI officials before they got the FISA warrant. One problem. They signed the FISA application under penalty of perjury that they had verified the veracity, the truth of what was in those documents, of what was in the dossier. They lied. We've got them dead to rights. We've now got a guy at the top of the Department of Justice saying, listen, I told all these guys that it wasn't true. They knew it wasn't true when they perjured themselves before the FISA court. Okay, that's a crime. It's perjury. It's a felony. Carries up to 5 years in prison. So we have irrefutable proof last week that they were told that they knew it was fake, yet perjured themselves anyway. Okay, we've got, we don't need anything else in this Russia thing, this Russia matter. We don't need anything else. In a just country, a grand jury would be impaneled right now and would be pursuing indictments against these guys. We also found out last week that they lied not just to the FISA court, which is a felony perjury. They also lied to Congress. We learned that last week. It was a devastating week for the deep state last week. I was screaming about this all week long. I mean, this was a week where we saw one Watergate caliber bombshell after another. We found out they lied to Congress under oath. Brennan, Comey, the rest of them. Oh, us? No, we didn't know if it was true. We had no idea. Well, Britt Orr just testified that he told you. And if you had no idea, then why did you sign the FISA application saying you'd verified it? You're either lying to Congress or you lied to the FISA judges. We got them dead to rights, folks. I mean, these are scandals as big as Watergate. We now know for sure that they knew. So they perjured themselves to the court and to Congress, both of those felonies. Wow, that's a bad week for the deep state. So what are they going to do? Got to change subject. So high up deep state officials leak the BuzzFeed thing. Why? They want to hurt Trump? Sure, they'll do anything to hurt Trump, but that wasn't the main purpose. They had to change the topic. So why would Mueller jump in then? Isn't it ridiculous that the only thing that is stopping them from repeating the BuzzFeed lies today is that Mueller stepped up and blew the whistle and said, no, it's fake? Why'd Mueller pull the plug on it? Because he knows it's fake. It can't go any further. It will discredit his investigation. He had to have it stopped. It had already served its purpose, which was to change the subject from the crimes committed by people who worked for Mueller, people who worked for Comey, and people who did that application. And they did it. They succeeded at that. They changed the subject. The media went right along with it because they knew exactly what the point of the BuzzFeed piece was. And if they could hurt Trump a little along the way, so be it. That's great. They knew it was fake. I knew it was fake. I didn't even need the details to know it was fake. But that was the purpose of it, to change the subject. And they absolutely succeeded at that. Nobody is talking about the crimes of those at the top of the DOJ anymore.